It's a dig. It is far. She is gone.
I don't believe what I just saw.
You're locked into the Hot Stove Cast. Here is the Hot Stove host. Yep, welcome into the Hot Stove Cast. I'm your host, Zach Simon, for episode number 103. That's 103, first season, episode number 3. Thank you so much for joining me. Jam-packed episode today. Really exciting stuff. 4 interviews. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4 interviews today. Austin McGeorge, AA prospect for the New York Mets. He's a reliever. Dennis Braun, high school baseball coach out of Florida, to talk about a few players, including who was formerly a AA prospect for the Mets, who was literally promoted today, Peter Alonso, among other players. Notorious B.O.B, Wing Bowl 25 champion, stops by the show. And Mets AA play-by-play Tim Heiman will join the show as well to talk Binghamton, Rumble Ponies, NYSCG Stadium, and more. But a couple housekeeping things before I get to Wild Pitch. As you can tell, it's Thursday. Yes, this show will now air on Thursdays because I think Thursday's a good day to do it. Mondays, people are busy. Wednesday is kind of oddly in the week for the baseball schedule. You know, a lot of teams have off on Thursdays, so I feel like this is a good day for me to put the show out there for y'all to get your baseball fix, if you will. And yeah, I hope you listen. Keep listening. I do have a new segment coming on today's show. It's called The Eighth Wonder. It is about minor league baseball promotions. So I will get to that later in the program, but without further ado, it is time for Wild Pitch.
Just a bit outside.
You're killing me, Smalls.
18 years ago this week, Bobby Valentine was ejected. Why? Well, he was just arguing balls and strikes, you know, typical Bobby Valentine stuff. But he wasn't just ejected. He came back out into the dugout wearing a disguise. Okay, this is, you know, you have to see it for yourself. I'll post a photo of it online. It's truly an all-time modern baseball moment. He was eventually caught and fined, but he doesn't regret the fact that he did it to lighten up the dugout a little bit. Obviously, kicking things off here, we got a little bit of a Mets flair to the show today. Moving on here, last week, Jake Bauers and Carlos Gomez got into a collision, and I'll play you the full audio here from the Rays broadcast, courtesy MLB.com.
Pops it up. That ball might stay playable. Gomez on the...
As you can tell, maybe I'll play it again.
Pops it up. That ball might stay playable. Gomez on the...
Oof, that sound was the... let's go with torso of Jake Bauers and Carlos Gomez colliding all together. One more time.
Pops it up. That ball might stay playable. Gomez on the...
Oof, man. It's really amazing that was audible in the broadcast. It's a video you really just have to see for yourself, but in case you didn't get a proper... in case you didn't hear that to the best of your ability, I looped it for you, so here you go. One more time. Wow, okay. Both guys were all right, Carlos Gomez, Jake Bauers, and they played on. Moving on to something a little more uplifting, Jake Lamb of the Arizona Diamondbacks was watching the College World Series, and he witnessed his brother walk off the Washington Huskies, who Jake is also an alum. It's his alma mater, and he went absolutely crazy. You got to listen to this. So that video went on for a little bit longer, and I mean, that's just pure euphoria. Good for him. Good for his brother. It's also very cool that his brother did it for his alma mater, so it's really tough to imagine how Jake felt there, but it's an incredible video. I highly encourage you to Google Jake Lamb's celebration. Onward, this week marks the 48th anniversary of Doc Ellis's infamous no-hitter. He threw it on LSD. I remember it like yesterday. Just kidding. But I have some amazing Doc Ellis quotes from the game. He doesn't remember a lot of it, but I'll just let the quotes speak for themselves. Quote, "I can only remember bits and pieces of the game. I was psyched. I had a feeling of euphoria. I was zeroed in on the catcher's glove, but I didn't hit the glove too much. I remember hitting a couple batters, and the bases were loaded 2 or 3 times. The ball was small sometimes. The ball was large sometimes. Sometimes I saw the catcher. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I tried to stare the hitter down and throw while I was looking at him. I chewed gum until it turned to powder. They say I had about 3 to 4 fielding chances. I remember diving out of the way of a ball I thought was a line drive. I jumped, but the ball wasn't hit hard and never reached me. So that's Doc Ellis's no-hitter thrown in LSD. It's a cult classic. The story is, long story short, that he thought he was pitching the next day, so he imbibed in what everybody's got their thing, and it was a different time 48 years ago, but he did that, and the rest is history. The only thing possibly or even remotely as ridiculous as those quotes from Doc Ellis are the team names for the subject of who my subject is played for, those being the Rumble Ponies and the Long Beach State Dirtbags. My interview guest is Austin McGeorge, and you can listen right here. Joining the HotStoveCast is a Double-A prospect for the New York Mets. He's a right-handed reliever out of the 7th round in the 2016 MLB draft. He's of the Long Beach State Dirtbags and was born in Anaheim. 23-year-old Austin McGeorge has kind enough to join the program. Austin, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you joining me. Now, Austin, your story's really interesting because you actually had no offers to go to college. And then all of a sudden, this guy, Troy Buckley, coach at Long Beach State University, approaches you and tells you or says he's interested. You down the road, you tell him, he tells you there's 2 guys they're looking at and you're one of them. You tell him you really want to be a dirtbag. And then Buckley comes back and says, you expressed more interest in the other guy, we want you. Tell me what's going through your mind when you finally got that offer.
It was crazy. I didn't really, like you said, I didn't have any offers going to school, so I didn't know if I was going to go just to school for school, and if, baseball's fun and all, but there's a point in time where sometimes, if you're not good enough to play, especially in college, then maybe you're not later on, so kind of move on and go from there. But, yeah, I've never even had coaches that came out to me pitching in general. So when Troy Buckley came out and just watched me throw in general, it was really nervous. I was so nervous, and it was unbelievable feeling for him to say that he wanted me to come play for his program. So many big leaguers that have gone through Long Beach State, Jared Weaver, Troy Tulowitzki, all these guys, Evan Longoria, they all are unbelievable players, and they all got to step on that field. And for me to have the opportunity to do the same thing as them is awesome.
Yeah, that's really an amazing story. Okay, let's switch gears just slightly. Let's say you didn't get the offer. What would you be doing, instead of baseball?
I've just probably a normal job right now, I guess. Obviously I love baseball. I try to coach in some way. I definitely would have gone to school, probably University of Arizona or something I got into that just kind of went in the business route and kind of take after my dad a little bit. So hopefully I'll probably be doing that, honestly.
What's your dad do?
He's in business with Toshiba, so he just does a bunch of stuff with computers over there.
Very cool. Like I said, you were a member of Long Beach State. They're called the Dirtbags. Now, to 99.9% of the population, that has a negative connotation, but the Dirtbags actually, it's kind of like its own little credo, if you will. Can you explain to the fans who don't know what it means to be a dirtbag? Yeah,
so to be a dirtbag, it started way back in the day. There was a little small field, and there's a little side field of Long Beach, so they couldn't practice on the actual field. And it had a bunch of pine needles, and it was super dusty, and the team would go over there and practice, and they'd dive, and they'd be all cut up, and they'd be completely dirty from the dirt being so bad, I guess you would say, that it was just everybody was filled with dirt. And so the coach was like, hey, you know what? You guys play hard. You guys dive in these needles. Like, you're all cut up. You know what? Like, you guys are dirtbags. So you guys are truly dirtbags. And ever since then, it's kind of stuck. It's almost a rite of passage, I guess you'd say. Just because you play at Long Beach doesn't necessarily make you a dirtbag yet. There's almost like a pecking order of, hey, you got to go there. You have to grind throughout the fall. You have to play hard every single day on the field and off, and do your stuff off the field. And that truly is what makes you a dirtbag.
Kind of like the Ohio State Buckeyes. You got to earn those lumps, those Buckeyes. From one mascot to another, we're here at Harrisburg FNB Field. By the way, I'm speaking with Austin McGeorge, relief prospect for the New York Mets. you play for the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. Now, do you imagine a Rumble Pony is like a badass demolition derby Ford Mustang? Like, what is a Rumble Pony to you?
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure this out to this day. I heard it's something to do with the town, and I see a bunch of carousels everywhere. I'm not totally sure if it's the same, if that's what it goes for. But I'm still trying to figure it out, just like everybody else, honestly. So.
Okay, rewind just a little bit. Junior year at Long Beach State, it was last year. He had a .89 ERA, .91 WHIP. The draft was last week. Tell me what's going through your mind the moment you get drafted. I mean, again, this is just such an amazing story. And you get the call from the Mets in the 7th round. What's going through your mind?
It was crazy. I'm pretty sure I cried a couple times. Never expected anything like that. And I was honestly at the field with one of my buddies who was actually in pro ball at home for I think it was for a personal wedding or something. He was at home for a little bit and had to play catch. And it was actually funny. I was at the field with him playing catch, and I didn't get very many calls at first. And so I was kind of down in the dumps. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I really wanted to play pro ball, and I thought I had a decent enough year, I guess you'd say, to have that opportunity. And when I got the call from the Mets, it was almost like a relief, I guess you would say. And as soon as they gave me their offer, I was like, yeah, sure. I just want to play pro ball so bad, and be a part of the Mets is awesome. So it was the most crazy thing of my life to this date. So
was baseball always your sport?
It was always my sport. Played a little bit other sports in high school, water polo, but nothing too major, just for fun.
When did you know you wanted to pursue it?
Probably. I mean, I've always played it my whole life. I would probably say the turning point is probably my junior year of high school. Again, I had a little trouble hitting in high school. I thought I was really good. Then I saw all these guys, and I was like, oh man, I'm not that good. It's really when I started pitching again, and when I started pitching again and seeing like, hey, you know what, this is a lot. I'm actually pretty good. This is a lot more fun. That's when it really became like a passion of mine. And
who'd you look up to growing up? Baseball wise.
I mean, there's so many people. I've had a bunch of coaches. I've been really fortunate that they've done so much in their career, and just to see what they've done, how they help people, it's kind of who I've been following. From my hitting coach in high school to Jason Cropsey, to my college coach, Mike Steele, who's been a mentor still to this day, and Troy Buckley, him also, who's also a mentor to this day. Those guys are really what I look up to, honestly.
Okay, so past and present, let's talk about big leaguers. In growing up, who did you really admire, and present day, who do you admire?
I mean, I've always been an Angels fan, and so watching relievers like Percival, who closed out the World Series for the Angels, that's definitely people I've always watched growing up. It was kind of crazy. Troy Percival was actually a coach in my college conference, and to see him on the other side was pretty nuts. That's pretty cool. That's a cool moment.
Big player, good player,
yeah, great player. Yeah. And to this day, I mean, there's so many great relievers. Me being a sinker slider guy, they just keep going. From familiar to sinker to training and sinker to
good choice.
All those guys are unbelievable, and I love watching every single one of them. To Romo's slider, that's also who I love watching too. So, yeah.
But yeah, Blake Treinen, oh my gosh, that pitch is devastating. Oh my God, it enters a different zip code when it breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're a reliever. Everybody's got a different approach. All pitchers do. What's your mental approach on the mound? Are you in a zone and can't be bothered? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm a little bit of a funk, I guess you would say. But usually when I'm on the mound, it's complete focus. I honestly have no idea who's in the stands. There could be nobody in the stands. There could be a million people. I'd have no idea just because I'm so locked in on the catcher, and trying to always talk positive to yourself, I guess you'd say. That's what I try to do, and be like, hey, let's get this one right here. Let's keep attacking, and that really helps me out a lot.
Yeah, like you said, you're going through a little bit of a funk right now. What are you doing to improve your execution?
I think the mental game is the biggest part. Sure, you can watch video and all this stuff, which is great if you're feeling like you have a mechanical flaw. Right now, for me personally, I don't know if it's mechanical. I think it's just more of not hitting the gas pedal 100%, I guess you'd say. Kind of a little mentally in my own head about some things that I'm fixing, and that's all it is just keep going out there every single day and getting better and better and getting my confidence 100%.
Do you have any rituals like Pedro Serrano lighting the thing up in his locker before the game, anything funky, same socks, anything like that?
No, I do wear stirrups though. That's definitely something I wear. Not very many people wear them nowadays. That's something that I have a little superstition with. And anytime I haven't worn stirrups, it hasn't gone very well. So stirrups are definitely a big ritual for me, I guess you would say.
I'm a fan. Very cool. What's the biggest stage you've always wanted to pitch on?
Oh, the World Series. That's every kid's dream. Every single time, whenever you watch the World Series, every single time I watch the World Series to this day, every year, I get goosebumps. Just it doesn't matter who wins. It's awesome for that team to go nuts and have a good time.
Obviously, you want to close the game, I take it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay, so you're up 1 in the 9th, 2 outs, bases juiced, okay? 3-2 count. What are you throwing?
I'm throwing my best pitch, the slider, so without a doubt. And I have no trouble throwing it for a strike, so.
All right. Oh, a lot of confidence. I like it. All right, let's switch gears just a little bit. You're in the minors now. You've been here for a little bit. This is your second year, right?
Yeah,
second full year. What's the most bizarre minor league promotion you've ever seen?
Minor league promotion?
Yes.
Oh, man. On the spot. There's been some promotion I don't even know. I really have no idea. There's a lot of really, really funny ones and a lot of funky ones that have to do with the town that I have no idea with, to be honest.
All right. That's fair. Maybe you'll take a note of it going forward. Yeah. All right, so the year's 2008. 14-year-old Austin is watching Florida defeat Oklahoma for the national title in college football. Did you ever imagine that you'd be playing baseball with Tim Tebow in AA in 2018?
I would not. When I found out the Mets picked him up, honestly, that was the one thing all my buddies texted me. Dude, you're going to play at Tim Tebow. And I was like, oh, yeah, like that's awesome. I mean, no, not to this day. One of the most decorated, I guess you would say, college football players of all time. And he's just such a great guy. So, I mean, I would never thought of it at all. So
yeah, he really is a great guy. I mean, he's probably one of the most unique teammates you could possibly have. I mean, Heisman Trophy winner. He's a bruising college player, had a successful NFL career. He gives. Can you tell me what his impact has had on you and your development?
A lot of it has to do with just preparation and mentality, I guess you would say. Playing football I never played football, and so that's something like every single day when they go out there, they're going to war, they're hitting people. Basically, you can't let that guy take you down, and that's kind of how he talks to us, where it's like, hey, you know what? This guy's not going to beat you. Don't let this person beat you. And the preparation every single day to like go out there and take care of your body and nutrition and what to eat and how to stretch, and that's been it, everybody. That's been the best part.
Yeah. I've never seen him or met him, but just watching him walk by, he is a presence. Oh my gosh.
He is huge. And if anybody thinks otherwise, you should stand next to the guy.
I had to do a double take. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it just happened during this interview. But let's switch gears. I heard we're talking with Austin McGeorge, or I'm talking with Austin McGeorge of the New York Mets, AA, Binghamton Rumble Ponies. I heard you're a standout ping pong player.
I'm not too bad. I've been shown up recently by a couple guys, but I'm getting there.
Okay. Are you up for the challenge?
I am up for the challenge. That sounds great.
All right, sounds good. So down the road, if and when you're a New York Met, I'm going to drop by the stadium, meet you in the clubhouse, and we're going to go play some ping pong.
I'm so down. That sounds like a blast.
Sounds good to me. I don't have much else to ask you, Austin, except obviously you're from California. NBA Finals are going on right now. I understand you are of the sect of people that believes Kobe is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I am a huge Lakers fan, and Kobe is the greatest player of all time, even though I'd have to agree LeBron is really, really good also. He is one of the best players also. But Kobe, being a Laker fan, it's hard to go against your boy. So
I totally understand. You kidding me? Austin, this was a treat. Thanks so much for joining the show.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you to Austin McGeorge for his time. That was fun. I want to wish him the best in the future. While I was at the park, I had the privilege to speak with Rumble Ponies AA play-by-play broadcaster for the New York Mets, Tim Heiman. We talked NYSCG Stadium, key contributors for the Rumble Ponies, as well as Peter Alonso and more. Joining the HotStoveCast is the voice of the Mets AA affiliate in Binghamton, the Rumble Ponies. Thank you so much for joining the show, Tim. How you doing?
Zach, my pleasure, man. I'm doing well. It's a pretty nice day here at Harrisburg, so we're thrilled to be part of this podcast.
Oh, great to have you aboard. Now, the Rumble Ponies are looking to right the saddle, if you will, as they sit 3.5 games back as the first half of the minor league Eastern League season comes to a close. Can you speak to what players you think can help fuel the team go forward toward a playoff berth in the first or even the second half?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost would be Peter Alonso. I think many who would look at this team would point to him as a catalyst for the offense. His numbers speak for themselves. We could go on and on about what he's done and the stats he's put up, but basically it boils down to this. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He works a very good at bat, and he's got a really good idea of what he wants to do at the plate. So he's not just one of those guys that goes up there slugging. Really, sometimes you see guys that are big home run guys, but also big strikeout guys, and that's not really the case for Alonso. So there's one guy in particular that's really shined. Another would be Jeff McNeil. He's had a couple of challenging seasons dealing with injuries, but this season he's been healthy and he's been productive, and he's put up some eye-popping numbers, pulling into nearly the 60-game mark. He's hitting about .333 with a lot of power, a lot of hits, and he's had a good rhythm. So those two guys back-to-back in the lineup have been big for the Rumble Ponies. The question comes down to, can they get some good starting pitching, and can they get some secondary contributions from other parts in their lineup? You know baseball, and you don't just win with two guys. You need your 8, your 9 hitters to contribute every now and then. I think that's how this Rumble Ponies team finds its way to victories, is that they've got that big production from Alonso and McNeil. They've gotten decent starting pitching. The bullpen has been pretty good, but now they just need that secondary offense to click and point them in the right direction.
Jeff McNeil, 13 home runs, batting .337. Peter Alonso hitting .316 with 14 home runs, just absolutely crushing the ball. You've got a guy like Daniel Zamora, who's got an 11.76 K through 9 and has a 3.05 ERA. And another guy like Aaron Hanhold, 11.37 K through 9, 2.84 ERA. Could they possibly find a way to improve on those numbers? And I know Austin McGeorge, who I just spoke to down at the field. He's going through a little bit of a funk, but his peripherals look pretty good. You said earlier you need more than just two guys, and even starting pitch, but the bullpen's so important to help a team win as well. Do you think this team could possibly find its way to an Eastern League title?
It's so tough to tell at this level. You take, for example, Eric Hanhold. He was outstanding for the Rumble Ponies, but he's in Las Vegas now. So you have these guys that perform well, and then you lose them. So that's the thing where we could talk about Alonso and McNeil, and then 2 weeks from now, he could be gone. So it's always tough to tell here. It's one of those things where now that I'm entering my 8th season with this team, you realize that you enjoy the guys while you have them, because you could show up to the ballpark one day and you could get the news that so-and-so player is in Vegas or so-and-so player's in the big leagues, and sometimes those guys come back, sometimes they never come back. So in my eyes, for the Rumble Ponies, they've done enough. It's kind of unfortunate that the Eastern League doesn't have first and second half championships like the other two AA leagues do. For the Eastern League, it's basically come Labor Day, whoever in the top 2 spots in each division makes their way to the postseason. So I'd say for the Rumble Ponies, they put themselves in a good spot. I think they're within striking distance, and anytime you can get to June and be within striking distance, and you've survived the pretty crummy weather of April and May, that's saying something, and that's kind of one check off your checklist. So I think for the Ponies, they are certainly headed in the right direction, but still tough to tell where they'll be in September.
Yeah, that's my oversight with Hanhold. Yeah, it is tough to tell. You never know when who's coming up when, who's leaving. It's a very fluky game. Even you get rehab assignments, you just never know. This is probably one of the more interesting teams in all of minor league baseball for one reason, and that being Tim Tebow. He's a national champion. He's a Heisman winner. He's a charitable man. Can you speak to his positive influence on the clubhouse?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it kind of rubs off on you when you're around someone like that has dealt with celebrity since really his mid-teens, and he's dealt with it with class and grace. I'm sure there are certain ways that you could deal with that negatively and really hate the spotlight. But for Tebow, he embraces it, but he embraces it for good causes. I think it's pretty obvious what he does with individuals with special needs, individuals from less fortunate circumstances, that he said it time and time again that he doesn't want to be known as a baseball player or football player, but someone that's made a positive impact on this world. And I think in the grand scheme of things, he's done that. I think people call him polarizing, which is little perplexing. He's done nothing negative that would warrant someone's ire, unless you're maybe an SEC football fan that's been burned before, maybe a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But that's a story for another day. But overall, he's been great to deal with. He knows what comes with the territory, what he's doing, and really, he's a credit to him. He's chasing a dream, and you can't really fault someone for wanting to pursue something and do it to the fullest extent, and that's something he's certainly done with us.
Okay, let's switch gears just a little bit. NYSCG Stadium, it fits 6,012 fans. Tim, can you tell me the best food in your ballpark?
All right, so I'll go with the traditional answer. If you're looking for the most location-specific food, it would be Speedies, which are, I'll fill you in, marinated chicken cut up into cubes and put on a roll. And it's such a beloved sandwich in the area that the Rumble Ponies, back on May 26th, played as the Binghamton Speedies, this new craze sweeping minor league baseball where teams will play as a food item or something local to the area. The Ponies did it. They took the plunge. In fact, not only playing on May 26th, but they'll play on Speedy Fest weekend, which is a really big deal in Binghamton, for 3 games in August. And then on Friday, they'll play against the Thunder, Trenton, the AA Yankees. Trenton will play as the pork roll, a local delicacy. The Rumble Ponies will play as the Speedy. So there's one food you'd have to grab that maybe you could only grab at Binghamton. That would be your winner.
Do they have corresponding jerseys to boot?
Oh yeah. They've got the cap, big old Speedy sandwich on the cap. And there's a local restaurant, Lupo's. They specialize in Speedies. Basically, the Ponies have the name Speedies in the restaurant-specific font on front. So it's a lot of fun. It's one of those things where for 1 or 2 nights a year, it's kind of fun to change it up a little bit, and the Ponies certainly have.
All right. Tim Heiman was kind enough to join the Hot Stuff Cast. Thank you so much for your time.
Zach, my pleasure.
A big thank you to Tim Heiman for his time. I'm going to be honest, that was not my best interview. Nonetheless, I want to thank Tim again for the interview, as well as facilitating my sit-down with Austin McGeorge. Continuing on, one of the primary reasons I went to go see the Rumble Ponies play was to get a first-hand look at first base prospect Peter Alonso, who has since been promoted to AAA today. He's very talented. I'll get into his numbers more when I talk about batting cleanup later. But I wanted to get more insight on the guy, so I reached out to his high school baseball coach, Dennis Braun, who is the coach at Plant High School in South Tampa, Florida. He actually referred to one of his former players as a future Hall of Famer. Was it Peter? Listen here to find out. Joining the Hot Stove Cast is a coach of Plant High School in South Tampa, Florida, who's coached players current MLB players such as Preston Tucker, Michael Givens, and minor leaguers such as Kyle Tucker, Peter Alonso, and Jake Woodford. Plant High School is also famous for graduating Wade Boggs. Dennis Braun, Plant High School coach, is in his 14th season, is kind enough to join the Hot Stove Cast. Dennis, thank you so much for your time. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much again for joining the show. You've been quoted, and I want to talk about Michael Givens first. You've been quoted as saying, Michael has always represented what Plant baseball is all about. He is the closest thing to a son I've ever had, and I couldn't be more proud of him and how he has managed his baseball career, end quote. What exactly is Plant baseball all about?
Well, I think it's just about coming in and learning how to practice and learning to have a toughness, both physically and mentally. I don't, a lot of people talk about it, but most of all these players, they're hitters, they're talking about, none of them wear batting gloves, and they still don't today. And people ask me, I say I don't force them to not wear batting gloves, but I talk to them about, how important it is to be able to just feel it in your hands. And, we practice in uniform every day. There's never any shorts, and it's just, I think, just a brand and an old school toughness that I think's gotten away from, the 2000s that we're in, and I think it's still important. And I think once they leave there, I think they get into pro ball or they go to a major division college, I think that kind of gets them through. I think what I'm most proud of is, all of these players, they've all gone off and been successful, whether it's through college or through pro ball. They're always moving.
You mentioned toughness. Let's move on to Kyle Tucker. You were quoted as saying, "I've said it to most every scout I've talked to. He's the smartest, toughest kid I've ever coached in 31 years." He also said he's hit his whole life. He's not going to stop hitting. So Kyle Tucker's obviously tough. He was a 5th overall pick in the 2015 amateur draft. He's putting up numbers, really, really good numbers at that. Can you speak to this guy's ability and what his ceiling could possibly be? You have obviously high praise for him.
Well, as coach recently, people ask me, I get always asked who's the best player, and I kind of answered, I think if I've ever coached a Hall of Famer, I think it's Kyle Tucker. If he can stay healthy, because he can do it all, and it's what I label it. I didn't talk about it earlier, but I label it as the 6th tool. Everyone talks about the 5 tools, but without the 6th tool of this mental toughness, physical toughness, you're not going to move. You're not going anywhere, and I think it's more important than the other 5 tools. And not only does he have those 5 tools, but he's the best of the 6th tool. And he led the state of Florida in high school with being hit by pitches and home runs for 3 years, and you can't do that without being that kind of person. And that's I'm not sure I give him that, but we certainly keep it moving along.
Talking with Plant High School baseball coach Dennis Braun. Wow, that's some serious praise for Kyle Tucker. He's in the Astros system. He's now in AAA. At just age 21 in AAA, he's hitting .275 with 9 home runs. He's having a very good season. I don't even know how to follow that, but I want to talk about a guy named Peter Alonso, who is also putting up fantastic numbers in the Mets system. He's with the AA Rumble Ponies. I interviewed Austin McGeorge earlier in the show. So he's got 15 home runs. He's hitting .307. There's actually a report out by SNY.TV. Mets radio play-by-play announcer Howie Rose has a pretty strong source quote. It says the Mets have no plans to bring up Alonso to the majors this season, quote, no matter what. Now, I always want 2 sources. I'm not going to have you speculate on whether or not he's going to be called up. I find this hard to believe just based on what these guys are doing, but you spoke to how talented Kyle Tucker was. Can you take me into what Peter Alonso brought to the table at his time at Plant?
Well, we're kind of famous for having, I wouldn't say famous, but we're kind of known for having really good left-handed hitters. We always have 1 or 2 always in the program. And Pete, being right-handed has raw oppo power that I've never seen before. He can do things the other way, which is why I do think he will play in the big leagues, because as a right-handed hitter in pro ball, I think you have to be able to get out of the yard the other way. I think it is essential. If you look at all the great right-handed hitters, the Manny Ramirez's and people like that, they were all very good the other way. And I've never seen a kid with as much power as he has to the opposite field.
Can you describe? Obviously, when he was at Plant, he hit in the ballpark of .460. He has this opposite field power you're talking about. Can you describe his leadership outside of his production at the plate?
Yeah, I mean, Pete's a grinder, and he loves to be on the field, and he kind of leads by example, and and he loves it, and I think that's what they all bring to the table. That part I tell him I can't give that to you. You have to love it or you don't, and he's just Pete. I would say this: Pete didn't come in as a great fielder. And a lot of kids like him, they just would spend a lot of time on hitting. He would take ground balls that we got tired of hitting them to him. I mean, he never wanted to stop, and he went on to Florida and became a much better fielder there, and kept doing that. And I really give him praise for that, because a lot of kids today that are really good hitters, they don't put enough time in their defense. And Pete, I think because of his leadership and wanting his team to win, he spends hours and hours fielding along with hitting, and he's made himself into a complete player.
Yeah, he's definitely a complete player. He's actually more than doubled his walk total And he walks 16.2% of the time, and strikes out 18.5% of the time. For a guy with those power numbers, I mean, he really is the complete player you're talking about. Wrapping up here with Plant High School coach in South Tampa, Dennis Braun. Dennis, last question for you, and it's regarding Tucker and Alonso. Was there a specific moment for each respective player when you knew they were special?
Yeah. As soon as they walk in and start taking BP, they're both special. You can see it very quickly. The ball doesn't stay in the park very much. And, and having them both there, they were both there for a little bit. And, and just, being able to see a round of BP by those guys at that age, it's special. And I'm kind of a coach that I don't change a lot when they come in. I just kind of talk to them about the things that I think they do well and just keep doing them. And, and we just focus on approach and, hitting the ball the other way and doing some things like that. But, it's at a high school, it's not hard to see who the special players are because, we don't get, we're not going to get 7, 8, 9 of them a year.
I understand. All right. Dennis Braun, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Really appreciate Coach Braun for his time. That was amazing. That's really sensational praise for the 2015 fifth overall pick, Kyle Tucker, to call him a future Hall of Famer. The coach might be a little biased, but to say he's the best player he's coached in over 30 years, and to take another level to say he's a future Hall of Famer, that's insight, and that's nobody in media really. You're so hard pressed to find people that'll go that length, and to hear him say that about a guy is really incredible. And the fact that he's in the Astros system, a team widely regarded as the best in all of baseball, top to bottom, whether it's analytics, the pitching, some standout young players. It's really something to behold. So keep your eyes on Kyle Tucker. And Coach actually talked to me about after the phone call and said, you missed a guy, Tanner Anderson. I was like, oh my goodness, I did. I'm not going to name the database. I referenced the database that said it didn't have his name, but it's ironic because I said, you got to use more than one source. So whatever. Tanner Anderson, Pittsburgh Pirates, has a 2.0 ERA in over 30 innings in AAA. Really impressive guy. He could very well make the majors very soon. I think he's going to be a successful pitcher, and here's why. He's got a 67% ground ball rate. Okay, that's fourth in all of AAA. Fourth. Okay, 67% is next level. I mean, he's a reliever. I guess I didn't clarify that, but yeah, it's just barely over 2 ERA. I mean, it's some really special talent here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that guy does. Michael Givens is having a pretty successful career in the bigs. He's got a high strikeout rate. If he brings the walks down, he'll be a pretty dominant reliever for the Orioles. Pushing ahead here, it's time for batting cleanup.
Christ, Serrano. Have to wake up back.
I told you I was going to talk about Peter Alonso. Well, in 269 AA plate appearances, Peter Alonso has 52 RBIs, 41 runs, 15 home runs, and is batting .315. Equally remarkable is his 16% walk rate and 18.2% K rate. I'd mentioned in the interview how he's doubled his walk rate. If he can develop into a guy with those power numbers combined with a walk to strikeout ratio that's basically even, we might be talking about 2 Hall of Famers from the same draft class, Major League Baseball draft class, and the same high school. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on here as we move forward, observing these Plant High School Major League Baseball prospects. More Mets news. Yesterday, before the Mets lost 0-2 to the Braves, no team since 1900 has ever had as few as 15 runs and 48 hits in an 11-game span. The Mets have literally hit an historic low. That's direct from at ESPN Stats Info bottom line editor Kevin Pulsifer. Excuse me. Tough days for the Mets. I really strongly. How do I want to put this? They just opened up sports gambling in New Jersey today, okay? I mentioned in the interview about how a Mets radio broadcaster said Peter Alonso will not be called up this season. If I had to make a bet on him making the majors today or this season, I'd say he would. I think the numbers speak for themselves. He's one of the most talented prospects in all of baseball, just strictly based on the numbers. And I saw him hit. He hit a home run off of Kyle McGowan. Kyle McGowan he was electric that night. He only gave up 2 or 3 hits in 6 or 7 innings. It was the only run he gave up. Kyle McGowan has been sensational, but I'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. Sticking to Alonso here. So keep your eyes peeled for Peter Alonso, and who knows what go forward. Who knows? I want to bring up Jim Thome. Okay, this was 14 years ago today. Jim Thome hit number 400 as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Could it be? Could it be? It is out of here! Number 400 for Jim Thome. Phillies have tied the game in the first, and take a bow, big man.
Take a bow, big man. Only 55 players all time have 400 or more home runs, and only 9 players all time have more than 600. Hall of Famer Jim Thome sits at 612. Speaking of homers, Max Muncy, Dodgers corner and outfielder, in his last 30 days, he has 10 homers and 75 at-bats and has a 307 average and a 442 on base for the Dodgers, okay? That's an 80 home run pace for 600 at-bats. While it's unlikely, obviously, I still recommend watching him. He's really fun to watch. Let's talk about Juan Soto, who seems to make an appearance on this show every week, essentially, but he's that good. It's worth talking. He's worth talking about. Yesterday at Yankee Stadium, by the way, he had 2 home runs. I'll get to that. He hit an opposite field 3-run home run that was only 338 feet. It had a 45-degree launch angle, which I think I saw on StatCast has only been done once before. It's literally a pop-up, folks, okay? But remember, he's 19, so it's a pop-up with some juice. The look on Sonny Gray's face when that ball went over the Yankee Stadium left field fence was priceless. Juan Soto is the 3rd youngest player to ever have a multi-home run game at Yankee Stadium behind Ken Griffey Jr. and Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones, by the way, first year on the Hall of Fame ballot in 2018, he just received 7.3% of the vote. He deserves so much more than that, at least triple, at least. And frankly, I could see him as a 50% guy. It's preposterous that I'm just blown away that he hasn't gotten the attention he deserves. To me, he's a Hall of Famer, mostly because of his fielding, but knowing that he was a fantastic hitter, good power hitter too, on top of the great fielding. He's a Hall of Famer to me, but it's close, but he's barely a Hall of Famer, but he should be. So I hope to see him on the ballot for many years to come. For majors to minors, first base prospect for the Philadelphia Phillies, Derek Hall, recently received a promotion to Double-A from High A Clearwater. He had 11 homers in 199 High A plate appearances. He's a big dude. I saw him in person up close. He's listed at 6'4", 236, but he's probably like 6'5", 250. He is maybe 240. He's a big man. More to come on Derek Hall. Before I get to bringing the lumber, I want to take a quick break, and the Hot Stove Cast will be right back.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present.
When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium.
When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash.
I want to be a bike that races around the country.
When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch.
I want to be a skyscraper.
I want to be
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to HotStoveCast, episode 103. Yes, the third episode of the first season. Thank you so much for joining me. Big thanks again to Tim Heiman, Austin McGeorge, and Dennis Braun for joining the show so far. I got an interview with Wing Bowl 25 champion Notorious B.O.B. coming up in the show. But first, it's time to bring the lumber.
Here's another hit, baby Bonds.
It's out of here! Bartolo has done it! Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
Met fans, alas, there is hope for your team. Brandon Nimmo, okay? I know you're having some offensive struggles, but outfielder Brandon Nimmo, he's risen to the occasion lately. His last 30 days, he's got a 959 OPS, 8 home runs in 151 at-bats, and he's just 25. He was a 13th overall pick in 2011. Frankly, he could butt into an all-star within the next 3 years. I'm really, really curious to see what he does in the next 2 years. Moving on, Paul Goldschmidt, wow, was he struggling to start the season. People were like, oh, it's the humidor, maybe he stinks, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's old. Well, he's pretty much calmed everyone's worries. In his last 2 weeks, he's 22 for 48. 22 for 48, 5 homers, 14 runs. That's a 458 average. He's got a 544 on-base percentage. That's over 500 for an on-base. That's just stupid. I mean, that's frankly the Paul Goldschmidt we all know. Keeping it with the NL West, Yasiel Puig, his last month, 26 for 76, 7 homers, 19 runs, 16 RBIs, and add 2 swipes to the mix. He's got a 425 on base. He does consistently bat 7th for the Dodgers, and that has me, frankly, pretty perplexed. Everybody does things differently. Yasiel Puig, it's no secret that he has a big personality. Maybe that's, this is purely speculative, but maybe that's a little bit of humble pie the Dodgers are serving Yasiel. But I don't know. The numbers say he should be batting higher than 7th. Moving onward, majors to minors again. Zach Green, Double-A prospect for the Philadelphia Phillies, Reading Phillies. He has 10 homers. He's batting 284. He's got a 521 slugging and a 362 on base, and just 190 Double-A at bats. He's a good hitter. I saw him the other night. He's got presence. He had 3 hits off of Kyle McGowan, who you guys know I'm a big fan of. He's got good stuff. But the thing I like about Zach Green is that he doesn't really try to do too much to the plate. He just hits it where it's pitched. And I don't have his age in front of me, but I'm going to try to pull that up for you now. I mean, a guy like that could really develop nicely. Zach Green is 24. He was born on March 7th. So there's time for him. He's getting there, though. He's a corner. He's an outfielder. He's just a corner. So you may have to see if Franco trade at the deadline. Who knows? No one really knows what's going to happen there with Zach Green, but he's got talent, and I look forward to hopefully seeing him as a Phillies fan. I will be honest. I'd like to see him get some major league reps sooner than later. Sound sirens. I didn't prepare a siren for you. Sorry. But it's time for the Eighth Wonder. So excited to introduce this new segment about minor league promotions. Let's get it rolling. Just a brief FYI. These will be promotions for upcoming events happening like the week of. So if I air this episode, things are coming within the week. So listen, get yourself to the ballpark, get yourself a cold one, hot dog. You can get all that for under $20 and get the festivities of minor league park. It's an incredible deal. I cannot recommend enough that you go to the minor league park. You will not regret it.
I'm just about that action, boss.
Having the time of his life.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Okay, so we've got the Eighth Wonder. The Staten Island Yankees decided to rename their team the Pizza Rats for at least 5 more times this season. And I've got a problem with this, I'm not going to lie. Pizza Rat, okay? Let alone New York pizza. So New York pizza is quite frankly one of the best foods in the world, okay? Bar none. Good luck beating it. I hear pizza in Italy is better, but I don't know. I'm American. Who knows? Maybe it is better. But as far as pizza goes in America, it's really not close. You got to go to New York. Pizza, okay, on the spectrum, it's way toward the best things. And rats way on the other end of the spectrum, okay? If I showed up to the park and somebody was dressed in a pizza rat uniform, I wouldn't want to eat. What? Why? Okay. Moving on to the actual promotions. I'll get you more dates on the Pizza Rats when the time comes. But the Wilmington Blue Rocks, tomorrow is Thursday. They have the Beer 30 promotion where Dogfish Head beers. It's a good quality hearty beer. A couple of those and you'll be spinning in circles in no time if that's your thing. They're $3 for about 1.5 hours up until game time. They might even be for 2 hours into the game. I don't know. You gotta go there and find out. But it's every Thursday at the Blue Rocks. Head there and get a $3 Dogfish Head IPA. Also at the Blue Rocks on the 29th of June, that's a Friday, a can't-miss event, Cowboy Monkey Rodeo, my favorite promotion in minor league baseball. You literally have monkeys on the back of dogs herding goats, okay? It is something you cannot miss. It'll be a sellout. I think minor league games are the most fun when they're sellouts because you really get the atmosphere feel on top of the entire experience. Get there on Friday, June 29th. You will not regret it. Moving on to Binghamton Rumble Ponies. Friday, June 22nd is Beatles-themed fireworks. It's also British Invasion Night, so you'll get a whole taste of rock and roll, British music, rock and roll, obviously. Rock and roll is huge in England, in case you didn't know that. You get Beatles festivities, obviously. And the following night is Jurassic Ballpark Night. You get specialty caps and jerseys at the Binghamton Rumble Ponies NYSCG Stadium. The Harrisburg Senators, June 16th, Saturday. It's dog and puppy yoga. Oh my goodness, how adorable. It's at F&B Field. Before, during, and after the game, you can spend time with all of these adoptable dogs. $5 from each $25 puppy yoga ticket. What an amazing name. Puppy yoga. We'll go to PA Caring for canines. That same evening, the Senators are giving away Blue Senators t-shirts to the first 1,000 fans 13 and older as a part of the PA Prostate Cancer Coalition, as a part of their initiative to end prostate cancer. The following game, fans will also get a free Senators jersey for the aforementioned cause. So get on out to F&B Field, and have a great time. By the way, every Wednesday at F&B Field is Wet Nose Wednesday. It's all you can have all the dogs at the ballpark. I've been. It is adorable. You've got to get out there. Lastly, Sunday at the Reading Phillies is Father's Day. They're giving away a Fightin's Dad baseball cap. Get on out there. That's what is that? Sunday the 17th. Get on out there. Monday, on June 25th, it's Mega Beer Night at the Reading Phillies. $8 gets you any 32-ounce beer and a hot dog. You'll receive a 32-ounce cup featuring Fightin's alumni Reese Hoskins, Nick Williams, Aaron Altair, Andrew Knapp, and Scott Kingery. So I was at Reading 2 days ago, Tuesday. By the way, thank you to Michael Ventola and Tim and company for the amazing hospitality. I had the chance to sit down and speak with Notorious B.O.B. Because it was Gluttony Night, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Gluttony Night in our interview. But yes, I spoke to the champion of Wing Bowl 25, Notorious B.O.B. So I'm here at Reading, and they have something called Gluttony Night, where you can have all-you-can-eat hot dogs, fries, pizza, ice cream, funnel cake, soda, Moe's Southwest Grill, Yingling ice cream, wings, I believe funnel cakes. Yeah, I said funnel cakes. And I might even be missing something else. It's for $10 or $11. It's amazing. And as part of the promotion, the Reading Fightin' Phils brought in Notorious B.O.B., who won Wing Bowl 25. Notorious B.O.B., how you doing? Thanks so much for affording me a few minutes while you are in the midst of an eting challenge.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on. Now let's look at your totals. When did you start eating, first of all?
5 o'clock tonight. I'm eating until 9, so it's a 4-hour event.
4-hour event. It's just about 8:25, somewhere right in there. So far, he's eaten 19. So what is that? 3 hours, 25 minutes. He's eaten 19 hot dogs, 10 slices of pizza, 2 fries, 40 ice creams, and 33 drinks. Now, from what I understand, you've already shattered your own record at this event, right?
I think it's 100 I did last year, so I don't want to add my numbers up yet because I'm trying to fight through the pain right now. But yeah, I'm trying to put up a good number this year.
Okay. Do you have a goal in mind, or?
Just one, so nobody else is stupid enough to even attempt it, and I have this record forever.
Oh my goodness. It's a good goal. Now, just so we make this clear, folks, he's eaten 19 hot dogs, 10 slices of pizza, 2 fries, 40 ice creams, and 33 drinks. Now, Notorious B.O.B., in order to win a wing bowl, let alone compete, you've got to have like a super regimen. How do you possibly go about training yourself to indulge in such massive amounts of food?
Well, I'm a yoga instructor. You can see in aerobics, you can see by my fitness that I take it very seriously, being physically fit. Actually, it's a lot of training. It's a lot of mental stuff. You just do a lot of practice. I practice with liquids. You have to kind of turn off the switch that says to stop. So either I'm a really brilliant person who's able to turn off the switch, but most likely I'm just a really, really dumb person that doesn't know I should stop eating, and I just keep eating. So I like to think I'm the smarter person, but odds are I'm probably the guy that's the stupid guy that just doesn't stop.
I don't even know where to go with that, but this is an incredible feat. I mean, how many wings did you eat when you won Wing Bowl?
I got credit for 409. So
and this is in 30 minutes, right? In
30 minutes, so I was probably about 500 wings eaten. Of course, the judge didn't think I ate 500, which, rightfully so. But, I addressed probably about 500 to get a score of 409. So in 30 minutes, so I don't know what that is a minute, but it's pretty high. You don't have much time for each wing.
Unbelievable. I'm struggling to grasp what's going on here. All right, anyway, I don't want to take up too much of this man's time. Notorious B.O.B. wrapping up here with the Wing Bowl 25 champion. Notorious B.O.B., in an ideal universe, you're a professional eater, obviously. If you could win any eating contest in the world, what would it be?
Definitely the Wing Bowl contest. I've been in the Nathan's contest. I never actually tried to win it. It just seemed something that just wasn't for me. I tried my best there, but I actually trained hard for Wing Bowl. Being from the Philadelphia area, that's the most meaningful thing. Most people say, oh, you're a competitive eater. The next question is, have you ever been in Wing Bowl? Because they can't imagine being someone that won Wing Bowl. And I was in Wing Bowl. I won. You won Wing Bowl. Oh, my gosh. So I could have tons of world records, which I do, including the most food ever eaten by a human anywhere. But they don't care about that if you live in the Philadelphia area. They just want to know if you ever competed in Wing Bowl. So to win Wing Bowl, that's just the best thing in my eating career.
I'm happy for you. As a big eater myself, I could never do anything like this, but I'm happy for you, my man. Notorious B.O.B., thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Big ups to Notorious B.O.B. for winning Wing Bowl. That is no small feat. I'm going to share a story, actually, about that. I actually almost competed in Wing Bowl. I was very close. My dad talked me out of it, and I don't regret not doing it. But I was going to do it in 2015, 16. Either way, it was right when Creed came out, the Rocky movie. So I was going to show up. There's all pomp and circumstance, and you get to come out on a float. I was going to dress up as Apollo Creed and call myself Apollo Feed and, be bombastic and all crazy. But now that I work in the market, I figured it's probably not a good idea. So that's that. But yeah, that's really incredible. Notorious B.O.B. won Wing Bowl, but I must move on with the show. That was a unique little interview to have him on. But it is now time for Painting the Corners.
Swing and a miss, struck him out.
20 strikeouts for Kerry Wood.
Yep. It's time for Painting the Corners, and where else to start? None other than Jake DeGrom, who in his last 10 Mets starts has a .87 ERA. Okay, .87. Oh yeah, the Mets are probably 8-2 in those starts, right? Nope, they're 2-8. That poor Mets team. I mentioned that stat earlier about they're just having an incredibly terrible drought. What more is there to say other than I think wins are a stupid stat. You got to move on from that. No, really, the win is a stupid stat. I could go on for hours about it. It's just not a good stat. It doesn't measure it barely measures the quality of a pitcher, and it really more so just measures how good the pitcher's team hit that day. More often than not, there's a gray area, but I think it's a poor stat. Anyway, moving on. J.A. Happ, 82 innings, 3.48 ERA, a 10.23 K39. He's throwing 83 miles an hour, and J. Happ is like 31. Let me get you an age confirmation real fast. J.A. Happ. I mean, he's been He's been quite the addition or the player for the Blue Jays this season. A very welcome surprise. He's 35. Excuse me. Imagine being 35 and throwing 93 with pinpoint accuracy. Do a 3.5 ERA. My goodness. If the Blue Jays don't compete, which I don't know, it's the more Donaldson sits, the less likely it looks. But if they don't compete, he'll definitely draw some trade interest. Michael Soroka, okay, I think I mentioned this guy once on the show before, maybe not, but either way, he's got a 2.57 ERA in 21 MLB innings as a rookie. Okay, he's a rookie. I think he's the best arm on the Braves staff. He's definitely something to watch. He had a no-hitter through 6 yesterday against the Mets, actually. Speaking of the Mets. Remember Tanner Anderson? I talked about that 67% ground ball rate in AAA. It's stunning. It's incredible. Well, guess who leads AAA in ground ball rate? Yep, it's Soroka with 70.1% in 27 innings. I mean, how do you? I'm struggling for words. That's just it's incredible. Okay, Michael Soroka is like 20 years old too. I think that guy could, the more I think about it, I think he could very well compete for a Cy Young, like soon, 1 to 2 years. I don't think that's crazy. I really don't. Wrapping up here, just a quick note about Kyle McGowan, who is absolutely killing it. Interview guest of the HotStoveCast, the second episode. Go check out that interview. Fun times with Kyle. Tuesday, he set a career high and a Senators season high with 11 strikeouts in Reading. In 6 innings. He gave up 2 runs. I talked to him after the game, and he basically, he's given up 7 runs in his last 5 starts, and 4 of those runs have come from the home run. And I asked him, I was like, Kyle, you're kind of struggling against the long ball. What are you looking to do to improve that? He's like, oh, I'm just going to keep attacking hitters. And I was like, thinking to myself, you know what? Good on you, man. Good on you. The 1 home run he gave up to Peter Alonso, there's no shame in that. That guy's just tremendous. I mentioned earlier he could be a Hall of Famer. But from the starters to the closers, it is time for closing time.
There's no crying in baseball.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, it's closing time. And there's no crying in baseball. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Speaking of the New York Mets, Anthony Swarzak is now back and getting saves, pitched just over 5 innings after coming off a injury. He's an interesting play for fantasy, which I don't usually talk about on the show, but he was particularly good for the White Sox and the Mets last year. He struck out a lot of guys. I think he had a K rate like in the over 10.5 range, 10.59 I believe the number was. He's an interesting guy to follow. When he's on, he's dominant. Like, he could be a top 15 reliever easily, I think, when he's on. Speaking of dominant relievers, Sir Anthony Dominguez, who seemingly gets a spot at the end of the show every episode, but he deserves it. I mean, listen to this guy's numbers. He's got a 1.42 ERA in 19 innings. 19 innings is more innings than he's had in AA and AAA combined. He's got 1 walk and 22 strikeouts. # dominance. Are you kidding me? As a rookie, I mean, man, if you get the opportunity to watch this guy pitch, it's insane. It literally is insane. I seldom use that adjective to describe a player, but he throws 98 and it moves. And it moves. It's precision. It's a thing of beauty. I said on a previous episode, I think he's the best reliever the Phillies have ever had, and I think I'm going to stick to that. Wrapping up the show, Zach Britton, Orioles reliever, returns this week from a ruptured Achilles. When he's on, he's one of the best in the game. I don't think anyone will dispute that. He had a .54 ERA. You could even argue he's the best in the game. He had a .5 ERA and 47 saves in 67 2016 Orioles innings. He had a 3-year span from 14 to 16 where he was just unbeatable. Incredible. And that was his major highlight, that .54 ERA I was talking about. Unfortunately, the Orioles, tough division, but they're just not necessarily playing that well this year. Pitching has always been a struggle for them. He could be a prime target at the trade deadline. I mean, he's had an incredible career with the Orioles. And for the sake of everyone in baseball, Orioles fans, baseball fans all around, let's just hope he stays healthy. Big thank you to this show's guests, Tim Heiman, Austin McGeorge, Notorious B.O.B., as well as Dennis Braun, coach at Plant High School in Florida. Next week, looking forward to stopping by Reading, Phillies AA affiliate, talking with Michael Ventola, Phillies reliever Tyler Gilbert, and many more. Looking forward to next week. If I don't get 4 interviews, I'll definitely have 3. Thank you so much for listening, and you're locked into the Hot Stove Cast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at HotStoveCastMC, and there's more to come.
You got Hollywood's highest honor. Shared credit, no money.